Robert Weaver, Talladega native, has devoted his life to serving others. His Christian vision and his heart for missions have benefited his community, his state, and his nation. In 1933, 8-year-old Robert began coming to conferences at Shocco Springs. He and other children commuted from Talladega in a 3-bench school bus driven by Robert's brother, William. After graduating from Howard College, Robert opened a shoe store in Talladega, and he began his ongoing involvement with young people, especially through recreational activities. His association with Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind began in 1960 as he was asked to help with a weightlifting program. There followed 10 years of volunteer work at the School for the Blind. Increased interest in working with the deaf led Robert to begin taking sign language classes at age 40. Robert found his focused ministry at AIDB. His work with the deaf and his awareness of their special abilities and needs eventually saw him leading some of them to Washington, D.C.
It came to me that if we could get some deaf children to sign the Lord's Prayer while Bill Mills was singing the Lord's Prayer, it would be a beautiful thing. They sang the national anthem at the Talladega Super Speedway, and Congressman Bill Nichols was also on the opening ceremonies that day. Then I said, Bill, do you have anything in Washington that a deaf-blind singing combination could perform? He said, yes, I'm on the committee for the National Prayer Breakfast. Maybe I can work that out. Well, the other congressmen who were on the committee had recommended Tennessee Ernie Ford and Perry Como, but Bill Nichols was able to get them to let Carla Davis, who was a blind student at Stanford, and 2 deaf children to do the Lord's Prayer. I had made, with a friend, a picture of the Deaf I Love You sign in jelly beans, which I had heard that President Reagan liked. And I wanted the deaf children to be able to give it to him, but security would not let that happen. I could see exactly the singers and President Reagan just behind them, and I could see his reactions. And after they sang, he turned with a smile on his face and said something to Nancy. And I consider that was definitely the most prayerful moment at the prayer breakfast. And I was talking to Gene Mitchell, who was Governor James's bodyguard, about the fact that I had this jelly bean picture of the I Love You sign, and they wouldn't let us give it to him. And he says, well, Bob's going to the White House in a few minutes. So I ran in the room where he was and asked him would he take that to the president, and he said sure. He took it to the White House, and the little girls got the sweetest letter from Ronald Reagan thanking him for that picture.
Robert was also featured in a story in Newsweek magazine in 1990 that recognized him as a good neighbor, and he was quoted as saying, "I don't hit any home runs, I just do little things." He has devoted himself to the students of AIDB, where some of the students refer to him as the Ice Cream Man. This title came because of the yearly ice cream cone parties that he started there and at Shocco. He even sponsored a birthday party for Jesus in the year 2000 and recently composed a song about the saving power of Jesus titled Let Him In.
Let him in, let him in, let him in, Jesus Christ, be heaven bound with Jesus evermore.
His concern for the spiritual welfare of the AIDB students led Robert to work and witness through Bible study, worship services, and to Shocco, where he continued to share Christ's love, one child at a time. Robert first brought deaf boys to RA camp, then deaf girls to GA camp. and finally combined groups to Children's Music Week, where the deaf students sang with their hands instead of their voices. Camp Shocco for the Deaf was created from these early Shocco experiences and from the recognized needs of the deaf. It was to meet these needs that the idea of a new chapel was born. The beautiful 200-acre wooded adventure camp at Shocco was the site of Camp Shocco for the Deaf and the natural location for a chapel. The new building was designed to meet the particular needs of the deaf. Robert Weaver generously contributed the funds for the proposed building, and August 2008 saw groundbreaking for the 4,600 square foot chapel. More than 10 different groups of volunteers from across the Southeast joined others from Alabama to help with the construction. Their work, begun in September 2008 and completed in June 2009, marked the realization of Robert's dream. Since June, some 700 students have used the chapel for worship, music, missions endeavors, and talent activities in their conferences. Leaders have shared how God used this time and place to work in the hearts of campers. Thanks to Mr. Weaver's visionary generosity, the opportunities for witness and worship at Shocco's Adventure Camp have only just begun. For his lifetime of ministry and service, we join in saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant."